In this episode of Rich in Relationship, how to be a creative mentor once you've allowed succession to happen. Every founder I've worked with who steps back from the business runs into the same question. If I'm not the one running this, what is my role now? And in the last episode, we talked about what if you allowed yourself to become grandfather Yoda to your business? Well, it's really Father Yoda because you're working with your kids, it's succession. But if you looked at the business as your grandchild, how would that impact your role? I mean, I want you to get that. In the last episode, this was really key. The idea that you can contribute to it, but when there's a real problem, they still got to change the diaper. They got to make payroll. They got to deal with the IRS. You just advise them. Because stepping back sounds clean, right? So what could get in the way of this really wonderful experience? You've built the team, you've created the structure, you've handed off the responsibility, but once you're no longer in the day-to-day, there is a risk. You either stay too involved or you disappear completely. I want you to know I had this experience where my mom handed off a business to me and she disappeared completely. And it was really interesting because on a business level, I didn't know what to do in certain circumstances because she had the institutional knowledge and hadn't passed it on to me. And emotionally, I felt completely abandoned. In a family business, when that happens, it's a double whammy. Neither of these things works, being too involved or disappearing completely. There is this third role. Not operator, not absent, but something more powerful. It's this advisor role because you know this business genetically, even though it's being changed by your children. And when you do this role right, it's exciting. It's personally evolutionary. It is liberating. I work with founders and partners who have already done the hard part. They've built something real. They've developed people. They've created enough stability to step back. But when they do, the question becomes, how do I stay connected without getting in the way? Because again, if you stay too close, you override decisions, micromanage, slows things down, you signal a lack of trust. But if you go back too far, you lose the ability to be a resource. And like me, your kids might feel a little abandoned. So it's really this position of Yoda grandfather advisor is vital for them and maybe for you. It's a different kind of partnership. It's not just shared responsibility, but it's a creative engine. And the best part is that you have the creative side without much personal responsibility because they are the decision makers. They decide where the rubber hits the road. When you remove the pressure of day-to-day execution and replace it with trust, structure, and space, trust in them, trust in the structure, space to talk, to brainstorm. Something opens up, new thinking, new ideas, new ways of seeing the business that weren't available when it was just you, because you saw it your way. But when you're in there with them, you get to influence your legacy and watch it become something even more than you ever dreamed, because they will take it to a new place. And that only happens under a few conditions. Trust, real trust. Not I trust you, but let me check that. Not I trust you, but run it by me first. Actual trust. Actual trust means I think you might be making a mistake, but you know what? It's your business and I could be wrong. It's where you allow them to make those decisions and act on them and learn from them. Mistakes become a way to learn, just like it was for you. Because that's where real ownership happens. Without that, you're not an advisor, you're a shadow operator, a puppet master, and your kids will hate that. The second part, structure, because without structure, advising turns into interference. So you need clarity on when do you get involved, where do you have input, what decisions are yours, and what is fully out of your hands. Without that, every conversation becomes ambiguous, and ambiguity pulls you back into the old role. And the third thing is space, the final frontier. This is the part most founders struggle with because space feels like distance, but it's not. It's what allows the next generation to actually lead. What do I mean by space? I mean, you give them space. You have your own interests so that when you're not in there with them, you're somewhere else, right? It's not that you're sitting around waiting to see what happens next. You've got your own freaking life. Maybe you've got a whole other business, who knows? And that's what allows you to see the business differently, because you now have a different perspective. It is not an owner's perspective. They are the owners. It is the perspective of, I've been where you are and now I'm somewhere else. I've seen this shift happen. A founder moves out of operations and instead of hovering, they step into a defined advisory role. They're not in every meeting. In fact, they might be not in any meetings except the ones that the new owners, their kids, are calling them into. They're not solving daily problems. They're only being called in when a new or an old perspective is needed. They're present at the right moments, preventing crisis, bringing perspective, recognizing patterns, sharing their experience, the experience that you only learn in the school of hard knocks. When an owner can share, a previous owner, a founder, a Yoda grandfather founder can share their experience that they learned in the school of hard knocks, that is where you prevent your kids from learning those lessons the hard way. There is strategic thinking that only comes from having done it before, and that's what you're bringing to the table. The dynamic changes when you do this. The next generation is not working under you, and yet they're still revering you. You're working together, and yet they're still honoring your experience. This is where the partnership becomes truly powerful, because now you have experience paired with a fresh perspective. You've got history paired with new energy and vibrancy. And when those two things are actually allowed to interact, not in a hierarchy, but in a structured partnership, you get something different. You get creativity, real creativity, not just incremental improvement, but innovation. Innovation happens in that space. Innovation is like a major shift in direction and in operation and in opportunities. Things that wouldn't have been seen from either side alone. But here's the catch. It only works. You, the founder, can hold this new role because they will let you drift back into control. It's unconsciously what they're used to. You have to be intentional about it. Don't shift back into control or you'll shut this down. And if you pull too far away, you lose it. It's a very careful balance. So the work isn't just building the business, it's redefining how you're going to show up in it as a mentor. And here is the shift. Stop thinking of stepping back as stepping away. Start thinking of it as stepping into a different role, a different kind of partnership with your kids. One where you respect them as adults. Respect their decision-making, their intelligence, their strengths. One where your value isn't in making decisions or running things, but expanding with them what's possible by preserving the legacy of your business through the legacy of your experience. When trust, structure, and space are in place, partnership doesn't just maintain the business, it becomes the engine that grows it, that innovates it. And that's where the next phase really begins. So get excited and enter into this new time with your kids. It'll blow your mind.